Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
5 years ago, the Power of We Symposium was created to provide a platform for kids from all sectors where they could have a safe and comfortable environment in which to share both their joys and concerns. The Power of We Symposium is proud to have served over 250 kids throughout Romania when we took our mission global back in May of 2023. Now, 2 teams of amazing volunteers from both the U.S. and Romania embarked on an 8-day Legacy of Hope tour, bringing encouragement and hope to not only the kids of Romania, but also the adults who support them, and also to over 100 kids here in the U.S. who contributed handwritten letters of hope to our Romania mission of 2023. Now, this year, we are proud to provide this opportunity yet again in October, and we are super excited to up our game. New venue, 750 kids this time, and we want to see you there. We're looking forward to meeting you in person at this year's event, which promises, as always, incredible speakers, amazing content, and of course, some of the greatest kids on the planet. So, mark your calendars for October 24th, and we'll see you here in Chicagoland for the Power of We Symposium 2024. This year's theme is Always Together, Never Alone. Tickets are available now on Eventbrite or at powerofwesymposium.com.
Don't see what's yours for the taking tonight.
Oh my goodness. I was so goofy. You know what? I was going, one of these days I'm going to accidentally unmute myself while the show opener is going or hit the thing at something. I have so much fun by myself. Do you? Do you know how to have fun while you're alone? Just, acting all good. I do. Everything around me in here, if you kind of can peek around, lots of toys, and I have pinball machines and skeet ball and just all kinds. I just love play. And I love to hear kids in my neighborhood when they're playing and when the weather is nice. I can just stand out on my deck and close my eyes, and healing is abundant when kids are around. Can I get an amen? Yes. And so I'm doing that because I'm leading into a shameless plug, you guessed it, for the Power of We Symposium. We are just so excited about this year's event. The Power of We is my flagship event, followed by the Next Impactor, which is our version of American Idol for people who are making differences in this world globally. So, but this year, we're up in the game. You heard it in the promo. 750 kids, you guys, and we need your help. We have a GoFundMe out there. We have our sponsorship packages for small businesses, individuals, exhibitor spaces. Also, some really great breakout sessions this year. Powerful. The one of them that I'm so excited about, I was going to say most excited about, I won't piss nobody off, is the 2 sets of 85. So whatever that ends up being, 156 or something like that. That many kids get to experience, because it can only be 85 kids at a time. What is known as, have you heard of this? Dr. Kori probably has. She's so bright. Something called wait a minute. What is it? Poverty simulation. They're going to be where, yes. And, she's shaking her head. Yes. I experienced it when I was speaking in Savannah at the University of Georgia 2 weeks ago. And man, went right and got the kit. Well, yeah, $3,500 the kit costs, but we're going to have it every year moving forward. What a great opportunity to bring these kids into something like that for them to be able to experience and then talk about it. So I'm very excited. Great speakers, still putting the lineup of stellar stars together. But we're getting there. So October 24th, tickets, like I said, are already available. We've sold a few already. People know to get it while you can get it with the Power of We. Head over to powerofwesymposium.com and get your ticket. I'll flash on screen one more time. 10/24/24 at the beautiful brand new, I think it's $19 million event center. It's a multicultural event center, the Matrix Club. And thank you, Cheryl, and everybody over there. We love you guys already. Okay, so welcome. Today I will be snacking on while the great Dr. Kori Novak. I love today's topic. It's kind of sad. It's interesting, but it is a necessary conversation that I will be having over avocado English muffin. Multi-grain, so quit judging. Okay, it's not multi-grain. Oh my God, I'm so ashamed. Shame. So anyway, how can I care? I get up and go to the health club every day at 4:00 in the morning. So that at 61, almost 62, yeah, I know what to do. I know how to do my best. But you know what? Yes, I'm trying to be the black male Betty White. That's my goal. But I also want to eat what I want to eat. Within reason. Because I almost ate a whole Paula Deen cake the other night. I brought some of that back from Savannah. Went to her restaurant. Don't bring anything home from there. I'm not kidding you. Ooey gooey cake. It's called, or something like that. Butter cake. That's all I got to say. Bella Purpose is here today, as it is always. When I ring it means that there's some truth out there. And just like that bell, that truth has a ring to it. Don't miss it. And also, welcome, so we can get Dr. Kori in here. My sidekick all 8 years, Lucy McGillicuddy Ricardo. And there she is back there. With Dinah Ross and Barbara Streisand, the other two divas that shall always be the queens of my journey. Love them gals. Now, Dr. Kori. Wow. Look, let me see. Let me do this. You got to see it. I can't just hold on. I'm going to share the screen. Look at her website, you guys. I got to show you. Because when you read it, it really, look. I remember a lot of we have a show on my network Trajectory called From Felon to Fabulous, and everyone on there, the host, all the guests have been incarcerated, not just county jails but prisons. And when you hear those stories, you guys, and then you see, look at this work. Dr. Kori says no one deserves to die alone. She says we can no longer turn a blind eye to the increasingly challenging issues of an aging prison population, as well as the general aging population in the U.S. We cannot let the fact that many find it uncomfortable to talk about aging and continue to deprive others of peace and dignity, while also dramatically increasing the financial and economic impact. So we're going to come back over to that site a little bit later. I'm going to keep that pulled up, though. And you guys put your hearts on the screen. It is our virtual way, if you will, of saying welcome and to giving someone a standing ovation as they come down on the stage. Here she comes, Dr. Kori Novak. Morning. Hi, doctor. How are you today?
I'm great. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Where are you at in the world, by the way?
I'm in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
No way.
Yes.
I was there a couple months ago at Colorado College.
It's a beautiful place.
Did I tell you that already?
No, it's wonderful.
Yeah, ECOC, Educating Children of Color. Yes. Oh my goodness. I wish I would have known you were there. Well, it's good to have you here. And here's what I like to do. I just gave them a little taste there. And there's so much more to you. We're going to share both the links to Dr. Kori's LinkedIn and her website before we get out of here. So don't worry, you'll be able to check more of that website out. But Dr. Kori, I'm going to give you about 60 seconds. I'm going to dip out and then I'm going to come back. I just like the guests to have a chance to reach in and just start the vibe between the audience, just the two of you, and or the few of you, and then I'll come back in. So you just say what's on your heart, and doesn't have to be a resume or litany or whatever. Just speak from the heart, and then I'll come back in. Okay?
Hey.
All right, all you, take it away.
It is so fantastic to be here. I am very passionate about the topic we're going to talk about prison hospice. It's one of those things that I hope half of you haven't already turned it off because you go, ew, what a way to start your morning talking about prisons, right, getting old and dying. But it's actually a very exciting, interesting topic, one that even if you don't care about prisoners and you think, you know, who cares, they're in prison for a reason, that's okay. Because if you love money, you still need to hear what I have to say, because it's not just about compassion. It's not just about human beings. It's about your taxpayer dollars and what's going on in prison with them. And so either way, you need to hear today's topic. I'm so thankful that I was asked to come on the show and talk about this, because it is one of those important topics that nobody likes to talk about, but we'll try to make it interesting.
It already is. Okay. Let's just go on. Let's go on in. Let's go in. I'm not even going to hang my feet over the pool. I'm jumping completely in. Cannonball time. So listen, a lot of us have had experience either with someone who has done time, or maybe I have, and it's out there. And a lot of people, you'd be shocked, people who are making big differences in this world. And one of the things I wanted to say, that when I was first in, I was immediately drawn to people who were doing life, particularly so people that were like around my age then or younger, just anybody though. But really, to hear their stories, I liked it where they'd been in for a while, because then you hear where the change begins, you know, and how they are. I mean, some of these guys were in their 30s, mid 30s, early 40s, 50s, had been there since they were 16, 17 years old. They were not even formed yet. Their minds and everything, and the situations, and the throwaway kids, and it's just heartbreaking. But honestly, Dr. Kori, I promise you, a lot of the things that enabled me to get past my own shames and all the things that trauma leaves behind, that crusty ring in your life's bathtub, if you will, imposter syndrome, depression, all that, addiction, da, 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 da. I learned so much from these prisoners who would never have a chance again, as far as they knew, to live a normal life. And one of the things we never talked about, honestly, I don't believe I had this conversation one time, was, are you afraid, or how do you feel about dying here? I'm kind of glad I didn't. So tell me, you've gone in. How did you get started in this work, first of all? Because your background, your degree is in
human services.
Humans. Well, you're definitely living up to that. So was it inside of the program? Did you always know? Did you date somebody? Did you have, did you pay somebody? Have you bought secure packs before? No, but you know what I'm saying? How did you find this passion in the most it reminds me of the thing about lily pads, or how those flowers come up out of that. Talk about that. So I'm going to shut up and just let you run with it, because I really feel I don't need to ask too many questions, because you're going to give it to us like we need to get it. So I'll butt in if you need a break, but
I have to believe that this was just my calling. It was just the path I was meant to take, because I did not grow up with anybody in prison. I didn't know anybody in prison. But when I was starting my dissertation and trying to decide what to do, I knew I wanted to do hospice. I have a hospice heart. It's important to me. And I happen to live in Northern California, or in mid-California, in the San Francisco area.
Okay.
And of course, when you live in San Francisco, everybody always wants to go to Alcatraz when they visit.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yep, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's a great place. But when you've been there like 30 or 40 times,
not so exciting. Right.
Not as exciting, always looking for something new. Walked in, and there was a tiny little sign, and it said, "Prisoners of age in the basement of Alcatraz." And I thought, who doesn't want to go to the basement of Alcatraz? So I went, and there were these beautiful photos and vignettes about these inmates that aged in Alcatraz and that just got old and died. And I thought, oh my goodness, I never think about inmates getting old and dying. You just don't. You think about inmates getting shanked or beaten up, but you don't think of a little old man walking around in shackles. It's just not there. So I paired it with my hospice, love for hospice, and I thought, oh my gosh, how do they die in prison? And I did the research, and I found out, and I was horrified and saddened.
By what in particular?
That if there's not a hospice in prison, and you die in natural death or even an unnatural death in prison, if you don't have family to come claim your body, they literally will put you in a pine box and throw you out into the North 40.
Yeah.
You're just dead.
Yeah.
And I believe in life. I believe in the sanctity of life. I believe in dignity. And I also believe that none of us should be judged on the worst day of our life for the rest of our lives.
Ooh.
I am not the same person I was when I was 21 or 22 or 32 or 42. We all change. And these men and women made mistakes, some of them significant and scary mistakes. But they did it on the worst day of their lives when they were 21, 22, 32, 42. Now that they're 52, 62, 72, they're not the same person. I mean, now let me back up for a minute. Some are. There are bad people in prison. Make no mistake.
Oh yeah.
But not everyone is bad. And
not
that's
by a long shot.
We change. And anybody who could tell me, I haven't changed since I was 20. Well, you must be 20 and a half then, because you change. And I'm not an advocate of let everybody out. That's not my deal. My deal is, look, if you're going to be there, you need to have the opportunity to die with people who love you around you. That could be your prison family. You deserve to not die alone. There's a stigma in prison about dying alone. And nobody, well, I shouldn't say nobody, very few people want to die alone. And so, hospice gives people not only the opportunity to take that stigma away, take that fear of dying away, not being alone, but it gives the volunteers, the other inmates who are caring for them, the opportunity to possibly for once in their life show care, learn what good touch is, learn how to be there for someone and hold their hand and be a human being.
You're hitting it right on the head. As a matter of fact, this is a perfect spot to share this little 2-minute clip. Not even 2 minutes, but listen, this is exactly what she was describing. And so we're just going to put a little support beneath what the good doctor just shared with us so that you can kind of tie it together as we keep moving down this most important conversation lane known as prison hospice and the need to know more. Here we go.
My name is Fernando Murillo. I am a lifer. I've been incarcerated since I was 16 years old. And one of the most horrifying things for me to think about is dying in prison. So when empathizing with any human being that I encounter coming through these doors, I know that they feel the same way. I listen. I assist nurses with diaper changes, showers. I listen to people's regrets, their stories, their happiness, their joy. I listen to their confessions. I befriend somebody when they're perfectly healthy, walking around, and I'll take care of them when they're unable to talk. And eventually I'll hold their hands when they're taking their last breaths.
My name is Cal Sepan. Everybody calls me Cowboy. That's my nickname. I am the barber here first, and then after that, then I do the other PCS work. Recently, we had a patient here that had ALS, couldn't talk. At times, it got really, really hard because it was so demanding, with him because he'd get frustrated because of the disease, So when he passed, then that was really difficult for me. I felt numb for like a week or two, But most of the time, then, we learned that death is a part of life.
Wow. Just those two brief little testimonials. And you saw the second guy got really choked up there. Talk about, so let's go. So I'm assuming most of your work has taken place in the Colorado Department of Corrections?
Actually, none of it has taken place in the Colorado Department of Corrections.
See, for agreement says don't assume. That's why. Okay. So where did it start for you? Where was the first prison you went in? And tell us about your first hospice experience. Was it harder than you thought, easier than you thought, or none of the above?
All of the above. Harder, easier, everything. So the first prison I went into was Angola in Louisiana.
That's one of the roughest, toughest, oldest prisons in the country.
Yes.
How did you end up in there, pray tell?
It's also one of the best hospice units in the country. It's their former warden, Burl Kane, put their hospice in, or set up a hospice, allowed a hospice to be set up in prison, and it absolutely changed the facility. When you teach people how to care for each other, it changes people, and that change spreads. And that's what a lot of my work was on. It was looking at the change from the inmate population to even administration and the wardens. And when you teach people to care, and when people feel cared about, and when you take away fear of dying and death, something changes in the prison. It's palatable. And it was amazing because this hospice, these men, to make money for the hospice, they quilt. And they make these fabulous quilts. And here's these inmates that are in the chapel just quilting away. And it was amazing. And talking to people just like you just saw, who said, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. And so it's time for me to make amends for what I did, whatever that is.
Wow.
And you teach them to care for each other, and they do just that. A lot of them, when they have a death, they will, take some time off. You need to kind of grieve that. But so many folks say, no, there's too many people who are sick. There's too many people that need me. I'm not taking a break. I am going to continue to be a hospice volunteer. I'm going to continue to hold people's hands and listen to them and wipe the sweat off their brow and tell them it's going to be okay. And that's what it's about. And so my first prison hospice, it was, there aren't words. If you've ever been in hospice, if you've ever had outside of prisons, if you've ever lost somebody in hospice, you know the power of hospice. You know the power of that quiet, peaceful, caring that is hospice, that is hospice workers, that is undeniably the way that I want to die.
Yeah.
It's the way that, surrounded by love, not in pain, holding people's hands. For me, that's how I want to go. Yeah.
Amen to that. Now let's pause right there on that slab of the sidewalk, if we could, for a moment, because a lot of people, myself included, for a long, long time, assumed I don't know how I got there, but I thought that hospice was, because my mom, my birth mom, she was on hospice, and I remember that Lori's Place was the name of the place. Hey, Lori's Place, great place, Southwest Michigan, with hospice service, and they set up the room, and they came in and they gave us all the stages of dying, that to expect this, and they're going to pop up and have an energy burst, and then all these different things, the rattle, and just all of it. And so I thought hospice was like the waiting room, like, when you hear you're going to hospice, well, nice knowing you, kind of thing, right? But there are people who actually leave hospice alive, yes. And I didn't know that. So, but hospice, when you talk about the compassion and the empathy piece, it made me feel like there was more to it than just going through the motions, like an aide who is there to, someone who comes in to change your bedpan or whatever. It's more than that, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of people see hospice as just like, okay, get them over there, almost like a leper's colony kind of thing, but it's not.
No, hospice is typically for people who are 6 months, who have a diagnosis of 6 months or less. It is always free to the patient. You never have to pay for hospice. And it is a way that you can die with dignity. It's about, it's about living your last moments, your last months, days, whatever, surrounded by love, surrounded by the things you want. Maybe you don't have family and you don't want your family around. Surrounded by your hamster or your dog or your cat or your neighbors. It's about living your last moments the way you choose to live them. It's not about dying. We're all going to die. We're all going to die.
Okay. Can I be honest?
Yeah.
I hate that. Not supposed to ask. You're not supposed to ask permission. To be honest, somebody told me that. Mike Green, years ago. Thank you so much. Director of Habitat for Humanity, Southwest Michigan. He told me that. Lauren, don't ever ask for permission. Thank you. Okay, I've still got it, Mike. It was a slip. Let me ask you this. So, like I was saying, it'd be nice to volunteer for hospice, but then I thought, I don't know if I can do it because the elephant in the room. Because I had a niece who was on hospice. She was 34 years old, dying of cancer at 34 with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'm not kidding you, Dr. Kori, I was on parole at the time, so I couldn't go to California to see her. And so I did we recorded something and I sent it. And the whole time you could hear my foot underneath the table. And because I felt so guilty, like shit, I ought to be ashamed of myself. Now I have time for a conversation with you. And I don't want to just talk about, so I heard you're dying. Or, oh, so you want to go camping next spring? You know what I mean? What do you talk about? So in other words, the proverbial eggshells and all the guilt and this and the other. And I'm saying, if I were to volunteer, I would most likely feel guilt about people in my past that have transitioned and I wasn't there because I'm seeing how important this is. I might fear that I don't have it coming up. Who's going to do this for me? Talk about some of the things that what are the top 2 misconceptions or the top 1 misconception about hospice in general, being in it or donating your time towards it. What is it that we get wrong when it comes to hospice?
We get that it's about dying. It's not about dying. It's about living.
Everyone thinks it's about dying.
That's because people die in it, but people die in everything. And so we forget that we don't know when we're going to die, and whether it's within hospice or palliative care or a hospital or my living room, we're all going to die. It's not about that. It's about living the way you choose to live for whatever amount of time you have left. Those people that are patients are lucky. They know how much time they have left for the most part. I don't know how much time I have left.
Oh, you said something right there.
I need to be living as if I'm going to die tomorrow. And everybody says that, right? Live like you're going to die tomorrow. We don't do that.
We don't.
Until you find out you're going to die tomorrow. And then you only have 24 hours left.
How do you go in? I'm sorry, but I just got to ask, because you're so perky and I know you're like that. How do you go out and not come out with an aroma of darkness, of sadness, of gloominess? Because, and what about those of us who have lost a string of people in our lives? And I know for a long time, seriously, I had an elderly woman who I used to go and volunteer. I'd go over, I just fell in love with her. And I'd go over and I'd cut her grass and stuff. And then I found myself falling in love with her. And my mom had already passed. And I was like, I can't lose another person. So I just stopped showing up. I didn't call her. I didn't tell her anything. And it hurt me. It still to this day hurts me because she was texting me and asking me, what did I do wrong? And I would go and she'd have, no matter what time of day I would come to do her yard, she'd make a full meal for me and make me sit down and eat. And I felt I can't lose another person. How do you deal with that if you want to be of service and you want to love up on somebody, but at what expense? Is there training? Do you help people get there?
There is certainly training. And we all feel grief. We all mourn. That is a natural human emotion that we all have to embrace. But the reality is you go in, especially hospice workers, the way we grieve, you go in knowing that you are making that person's life so much better. You are giving so much to them and making them happy that you can leave that day or when they pass, knowing that you made their last moments joyful. And that should make you feel good. It doesn't mean you're not sad. It doesn't mean you don't cry, you don't mourn, you don't grieve. Certainly you do that. If you don't do that, there's something wrong. Then you were doing it for the wrong reasons. But in that, knowing the beauty that you brought to their life in those last days, minutes, years, whatever, often, brings that warmth that you did good.
You're right. You're right.
So,
and I'm going to say, it is a real, listen, everybody, you're right. You just reminded me, Dr. Kori. I remember if anybody has ever been in a situation, it's kind of the same, but not, where you were the last person to speak to someone. And I have. It wasn't hospice, car accident, stop. And the conversation was about life and death. Do you really believe all the stuff you say, Lauren, about something greater than you, this and the other? At 1 a.m, can I just stop by? I can't get you off it really happened. And he died on the way home. And and I've always thought about that. Would I have done it different? Did I miss anything? And so it's almost like when we say what you just said, live every day as if it were your last. It's like I would think that when you're having those conversations, you're very careful about the topics and nothing's frivolous. It's not a conversation with no calories.
Right.
0 calorie. And we have those conversations so much. that talk about shit that don't mean nothing.
Yep.
So talk about that. How has it helped you as far as these conversations with people right up to the door of transition? How has it helped your door of just living better?
It has made me more willing to share my emotion and realizing that it's okay to tell somebody how much you love them and how much your friendship means. And it's not about being sappy or sweet or overly whatever. It's about saying, hey, Lauren, you mean a lot to me. And I'm glad you're in my life, and meaning it. And I didn't do that before. I mean, I was like, people know I love them. People know, my parents know I love them. My siblings know. My best friend knows. You know what? They know. Of course they know. But it's good to hear. And, I've had that last conversation too, both in and out of hospice. And when you are sitting with someone who is dying, you're right. Everything matters. Every word out of your mouth is important. And
every word, every syllable, all of it.
Laughing, joking, please do it. Make them laugh. It's great. Tell them, but tell people how much you love them.
How do you not talk about things in the future? Knowing, like, ooh, I be spring here in 4 months. I can't wait. Oops, sorry. You probably don't have 4 months. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'd have 6 left feet.
It's okay to talk about the future, though. It's okay, because for a lot of people who are dying, they want to know that you're going to be okay and that you're going to have a future. And so you might not want to say, so in the future, here's everything I'm going to do. But I know when my dad died, he wanted me to talk about my future. I was 26 years old, and he did not want my life to stop at 26 because my daddy died.
Yeah.
He wanted to know I was going to make a difference. He wanted to know I was going to keep caring for people. And so he would ask me, what are you going to do in 10 years? What are you going to do in 20 years? What's your life's dreams? And so it's okay to talk about the future. It's okay to say, hey, I'm going to make tuna fish for lunch tomorrow, because it just shows that it makes that time you're with somebody sweeter, because they know that you have more to live. They know you're going to walk away and go to bed tonight and do whatever, but you're taking that moment with them right now to be present with them, to love on them. And don't be afraid to talk about the future. Now, if your patient says, I don't want to talk about the future, I'm dying. Okay, stop talking about the future. Talk about memories they have. Talk about what you're watching on TV or what's on TV tonight. Talk about the near future. But for the most part, when people are dying, they just want to hear your voice and hear that you're there and you're happy and you're loving on them. And don't be afraid to talk. Also, don't be afraid of silence. Sit in silence. If that's what you feel is necessary, we are all so uncomfortable with silence so often.
This is true.
Hold a hand, touch a face, wipe a brow. You can do it in silence. And
one of the things, Dr. Kori, that I'm going to throw it out there, but I bet you can confirm it. Because people think, oh, what a horrible way to die. Alone or semi-alone or pseudo-alone or however you want to frame it. In prison, not outside this and that. But one thing I do know about people who are doing life, it was consistent across the board. They always say, well, I'm glad I don't spend my days accumulating a bunch of things that at the end of my life won't mean anything. Things. And I know today that I get it, because I am so grateful that my motivation every day to do whatever I can to ease any kind of suffering in this world is not based on me accumulating things I can touch. That big house, I can touch it. That luxury car, I can touch it. That vacation timeshare, I can touch it. That trophy wife, that I don't really love. I just want a trophy wife, hence the term, I can touch it. But then I have all those things I can touch, but I'm in a world where I feel absolutely nothing. Because things like joy, love, peace, comfort, gratitude, you can't touch them. You must feel them. And people that are incarcerated and never leaving, they know how to feel, because they helped me They helped me find things so that I didn't want to invest in killing myself anymore. You still have a chance, Lauren. Get out there and do something with your life. And so, you know, I feel for prisoners that I came into contact with that spoke to me, because God led me to lifers from the day one. And you know, you're not in there, you're not supposed to ask questions about what are you in here for, how long you not supposed. I did. You know, I was like, hey, I was told to come over here and talk to you. Seriously. And I'll tell you, it's just like kids in foster care that I found out after I got out. I went to find them, the little boys and stuff that I grew up with. None of them made it out. None of them made it out. So I felt like I have a duty to speak for all of us. So I want to ask you this. How do you, have you ever, with these conversations, you know, we hear stories of people who wait on people, family members to arrive, and they're languishing. They're waiting, like they have control over the transition. So what things have you seen, these mystical, spiritual things, if you're okay with talking about these kinds of things, that people share with you as they're in that space? Because I believe there must be spiritual comfort. There must be things that we don't know about that happen in there. What say you about that?
There are, certainly. When you are watching someone die, there is a spiritual component. That's why hospice has chaplains that are non-denominational, you can be Christian, you can be non-Christian, you can be whatever. A chaplain is there to comfort you spiritually, whatever you believe spiritually. And when you're dying, there are moments. And I believe, I have no evidence of this, but I have, 20 plus years in hospice. Mm-hmm. I believe that people choose when they are ready to die, if they're dying a natural death. And, I'll give you an example. My father, he died 25 years ago. And he was given 2 weeks when he was diagnosed with cancer. And he lasted 67 days.
He what?
He lasted 67 days. And it was those last days, every day up until literally the last day, people were in our house, my siblings, pastors, friends, family, whatever. And I hope my siblings are not watching this. Turn this off for a minute.
I know that feeling.
My dad finally died when it was just my mom, his dog, and me. We were the only ones in the house that night. And up until then, there had been all kinds of people in our house. And I believe that he chose to die at that moment because it was with that group, my mom, his dog, and him and me, that he had some of his happiest moments. And so, because, not that my siblings are bad, they're not.
No.
But they're older than I am. I was adopted. They are much older than I am. So when they were around,
you're adopted.
Yeah. When they were around, yay!
You too. Yeah.
He had to work hard because he had a lot of mouths to feed. Yeah. And when I came around, it was just my mouth, although it's a big mouth.
Right. That's how it was for me. I wasn't raised by the same mom that my other siblings that were older than me, the birth kids, the biologicals. Yep. I had a different person.
Yep.
I had a different person. I get it. Let me ask you this. Have you ever, I'm sorry, finish your thought.
Oh, I was just saying we change when we age, right?
We change when we age.
That's the whole point of prison hospice. We change as we age. Parents, whatever.
Have you literally been with a person when they transitioned? Like,
yes.
Because he said, like, as they took their last breath.
Yes. Yes.
What's the most, like, do they say things? Sometimes people talk right up to the end, mm-hmm. And sometimes they're gone, they're out of it or whatever, heavily sedated or whatever. But for you personally, how it's like, it should feel like an honor, I would think.
It is.
It's one that person that out of all the people that person met mm-hmm. in a lifetime, that you are the one that was chosen to be in that place with them at that sacred moment.
Yeah. Whether they chose me or God chose me or their family chose me or whoever.
Everything that makes everything happen chose. That's why you're there. So
Right.
what does that feel like, and what do you do with it?
I cherish it.
Ooh, good word.
I cherish it. It is an honor. It is, if you've never sat with someone and held their hand as they died, you don't know. But it is an absolute honor to watch them transition. I don't think I've ever watched somebody transition where I haven't shed tears, because it is so overwhelmingly beautiful.
Beautiful. That's what I heard.
Yeah, people are so afraid of death. And I get it. I totally get the fear of death. But when you see it up close, it can be scary. It absolutely can. And I'm not gonna, whitewash it. It can be terrifying.
Yeah.
But if you are in the right mindset and you are surrounded by love and you have people who understand,
Yeah.
it is the most beautiful thing. There's kind of a thing that a lot of hospice nurses do, but I love it. I think it's beautiful. That there are certain signs when you die. And if you're dying a natural death, they all happen. One is called Shane-Stokes breathing, and people kind of pant as their body is shutting down, and it's within the last few minutes before you pass.
Wow.
And people are kind of go. So hospice workers know this, right? And so a lot of hospice nurses, and I'm not a nurse, but I do it too. If there is a window to be cracked open, they'll crack open a window so their soul can leave the building.
Oh my goodness.
And I think that's beautiful. And whether you believe it or not, it's not up to me whether you believe it. But for me, the thought of letting in some fresh air so somebody's soul can leave is beautiful. And it's part of that beauty in dying.
Wow. Okay. As much as I want to stay on this particular, topic, I don't want to miss the thing that a lot of us are going to be shocked about. I know I am, because when you said it at the beginning, I was like, what? When you were saying about, and if you love money, money, what's that got to do with hospice in prison? Tell us about that piece.
So if there's not a prison hospice, prisons have regulations. And if you are a sick individual, let's say you have COPD, you have congestive heart failure, something like that, prisons cannot just let you languish. They must take care of you, right? We have to take care of people. And so let's say you have a breathing issue and you can't breathe, right? So they have to rush you to the hospital because the infirmary can't handle you. Let's look at the cost of that. An ambulance, these people do not have insurance. They are wards of the state, right? So what pays for wards of the state? Taxpayer money. So keep in your mind, taxpayer money. Here's my taxes. We have now paid for an ambulance to and from the hospital. We have paid for the hospital. If you've ever gotten a hospital bill, that is not cheap. So let's say you go for 3 hours, or let's say you have to go 6 hours. Well, usually within 6 or 12 hours, you also have a changing of your security. So if you are a medium security inmate, you go with one security officer who we are paying. If you are maximum, you go with 2. If you have to stay more than 6 hours, those 2 will change over, or they get overtime. Every pill you take, every meal you eat, the taxpayer pays for it. And then you go back to prison, let's say 12 hours later. Again, ambulance ride home, and you're looking at potentially $20,000 or $30,000 because of all of those costs. And you're good for 12 hours, and then you need another breathing treatment, and you have to go again. And we cannot let you, let's say you're end stage. We have to keep taking you to the hospital every time.
What is end stage?
End stage, like
E&D. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Every time you can't breathe, we take you to the hospital, and all those costs keep coming, keep getting billed to the state.
Let me ask you something real quick. I'm just curious. Because I actually thought about this earlier, but I was like, man, that's not important. But now I think it is. Do prisoners, do they have the right, like we have, for like a DNR?
Not
I wondered
unless,
why I was told to ask that question. You're kidding. I thought that was like a constitutional right.
Well, you lose your constitutional rights when you go into prison, right?
You'd think I'd know that. Even as far as dying?
Yeah.
So you're saying there's no DNR? They got to keep trying or keep them on life support?
Yeah. Unless there's a hospice. If there's a hospice and inmates choose, I would like to go to the hospice, then you can go die. And so there's the cost. So as opposed to taking people back and forth to the hospital, now they can say, I want to die with dignity and compassion, or I just want to die in here, whatever the case is. They go through the hospice program and they are allowed to die. And they are not, because in hospice, one of the first things they teach you when you have a patient, when you're a family of a patient, is do not call 911. Hospice is not about resuscitation. Hospice is about allowing people to die naturally, not in pain. There's lots of drugs people get in hospice, but it's not about calling 911. It's not about trying to resuscitate somebody and keep them alive, It's about letting them go with dignity. And it's the same thing in the prison hospice. It's not about keeping them alive anymore. They don't want to keep going for breathing treatments. They don't want to keep going for dialysis. They just want to die.
Oh,
So that's what it's about.
have you ever? Oh my goodness, this is hard to talk about. It just it's so many different emotions that I'm not. I was gonna say comfortable. I don't know. Let me ask this: do you ever ask people in hospice what it was like for them the day they heard that word and it was connected to their future?
Yes.
What was the biggest flip or change in mindset? It's almost, to me, it was right getting a cancer diagnosis. That drive home, no radio, you don't want your phone's turned off. Probably you probably don't go straight there. You drive around a fugue state. What do they say? Have you ever had anyone share with you about that and how they moved into the time they had? Because if you have 2 weeks, you don't want to spend 9 days.
Right. And that's one of the problems with hospice. A lot of physicians don't order hospice soon enough, and people end up going in the first 24 hours they die. And that's not what hospice is about. Again, it's not about death. It's about taking those last 3 months, 3 weeks, 6 months, 6 weeks, whatever, and living your best life.
Wow.
So people, by the time they are talking about hospice with somebody, many of them know they're going to die. There's just, you just know. My dad used to say, you just know, like you just know you're going to die. And so for a lot of people, yeah, you just know. You just know. And I don't know what that feels like, obviously, but
right.
But they're at peace. They know that they're going to go home. They're not going to be in pain because we control pain with different drugs, with different, things. And so there's almost a piece of, okay, now I can focus on what's most important. My family, my dogs, my loved ones, my TV, whatever is most important to that person. They don't have to worry about dying anymore because they don't have to worry about being in pain. We are going to make sure that they are not in pain while they die so they can focus on whatever they want to focus on.
Do you think people, just from your own, this is your own opinion, if you're comfortable answering this, do you ever detect that people, maybe they say things or they believe things, do they have a sense that when they die, it's not the end? Do they ever say things like, because when I wonder what comes with the knowing, something that is peace bound, peace related. It's like, you know what I mean? Like if it had if dying were you tasted it, the flavor,
yep.
What comes with, that's not so bad after all, better than I expected. Yep. That's not bitter at all. You see what I'm saying? Because we all wanted, she died peacefully in her sleep. Yep. And I'm gonna say another thing, because I used to sing at a lot of funerals, and it wouldn't always be because people would just call and hire me, right? Churches would ask. They would ask the church, anybody who can do it? So they'd call me. And like, for real, people that like gang violence or drive-by shootings or something that was trauma-based, I noticed that people weren't up around the casket. They were out in the foyer or outside. But people who died peacefully, everybody was stuck up there, just staring at them. She looks like she's sleeping. She looks so peaceful. And I used to, because I'd be off somewhere, because I didn't know anybody. I wasn't chanting, oh, doesn't she look natural? I wasn't. So I was observing. And I was like, why is that? Always. There is something about transitioning peacefully.
Yes. You know, it depends. So I would say that my experience has been those people who have a strong or any kind of religious belief, whatever spiritual religious belief, tend to not be as afraid because they believe in a higher power, or they believe in a higher reincarnation, or whatever they believe in, and they tend to transition more peacefully. People who have no belief be a little more scared because for them there's nothing. I mean, it's over, it's done. And so there's a little more fear. And I would say that, it is different, because at the end of your life, when your eyes are closed, when you're taking your last breaths, we will never know what their last thoughts are, whether they became religious truly, whether they threw their religion away in the last 2 seconds of their life. We'll never know. But I will say that those who have some sort of faith, to go better.
This is not nearly enough time. Dr. Kori, here's what I want to do. I would love if you would, I will gift it to you. I would love for us to put together a 90-minute television special on this topic. I believe families need to know. I think individuals need to know. I think communities need to know. I just do. And I'm shocked that I'm saying, oh, let's do a 90-minute special, because I've been feeling some kind of way this entire hour. And I want to know why I feel this way. I want to know why.
Death is a hard topic. We are so afraid. But the thing is, looking at death, turn it around to be beautiful. That's what prison hospice does. It turned this ugly, dirty prison and this scary, shameful death into something that is beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And is transforming. One of the things I saw in a prison hospice, it was a Black man dying, and his caregiver was a white man. And normally color wouldn't matter, except the white man was in prison for hate crimes against Black people. He was a supremacist. And on his knuckles were the words, white power.
Power. I've seen it many times. Yeah.
Yep. And I watched those white power hands take a cold cloth on a Black man's face and gently wipe his face. And I saw them hold his hand and say, my friend, it's okay.
It's okay. Just go.
Go in love.
Stop, Dr. Kori.
I know, it is life-changing. This man who hated a whole race of people,
Just amazing.
was now caring for one of those he used to hate, one of those that put him in prison for hurting. And now he's telling him, go in love. You can't tell me there's no power in hospice. You can't tell me there's no power in death, because I saw that with my own 2 eyes. And it is beautiful. If we could change the world like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's powerful.
We're afraid to talk about it. And that's why people feel uncomfortable. People see, ooh, they're going to talk about death today. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it shouldn't be like that.
Right.
It's a hard topic. It's hard because we all love people. We lose people. It's hard. And nobody's here to say it's not. Nobody's here to say don't grieve. It hurts.
It does.
The depth of your grief only shows the amount of your love.
Oh.
And if you grieve and grieve and grieve, it means you have the capacity to love and love and love.
That's right. That's right. And I just, oh my goodness, I can't believe we're out of time. Thank you so very much for everything. Hey, you all. I know you have questions, concerns, joys, just keeping the conversation going with Dr. Kori Novak. On your screen, ticker taping along the bottom is her LinkedIn connection. And then above is the website. I'm going to take the liberty of dropping both of these inside your comment section immediately at the end of today's broadcast, which unfortunately is right now, so that you can just go and find out more. Keep the conversation going. Don't be afraid. And Dr. Kori, I want to talk to you about somewhere down the road putting together a 90-minute TV special, because I think people more than not are ready to do better, and that starts with conversation. And this is definitely an illuminated conversation. So thank you so very much. And I want to thank all of you for pouring into us today by being here, enacting the promise that where two or more of us comes together, wonderful things, I call it spiritual magic, is in the works. It's abounding. So take that with you today. Have a blessed and divine day. And remember, as always, in closing, I tell you, and I mean it, I love you. I really do. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. So take that with you. I'll see you tomorrow morning, God willing, right over there on the front porch. We're together. Again, we will have an illuminated conversation. Get out. Find your highest self today. I certainly hope I will. Bye, everybody. Dr. Kori, great job. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How explicit do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Boy, I'm standing right here holding up a sign, shamelessly displaying my state of mind.